deal with the monkeypox outbreak, and how does it add to San Francisco's already declared monkeypox emergency?
Karina, some of this right now is speculation, and I'm basing this just solely off of what we have heard from the White House and what can historically happen when a national public health emergency is declared. So there may be a better resource allocation in terms of vaccines and treatment. We will see an increase in funding that can hopefully boost some of those resources as well. Hopefully there's some contact tracing, but also what's interesting is the CDC can now try to do data collection across state lines, helping us understand who exactly is getting infected the worst. What does transmission really look like? What does secondary attack rates look like? Meaning people who are getting infected from others. What does it look like in that setting? There's a lot more that can happen. But last but not least, this might put a big alarm sign out there in terms of awareness for people to take it seriously. Now, it is sad that we need a national public health emergency to achieve that, which is why some advocates, including HIV/AIDS advocates, said this is the reason why the White House should have declared this a national emergency weeks ago.
And it sounds like it will make a difference, but that could take time. Talk about the timeline or what we know about that, because so many people are still waiting to get the vaccine and just to get more resources available for people in regards to this outbreak.
I wish, Karina, that we had been given a very clear timeline. We've heard these estimates about there being 500,000 to a million vaccines available by fall. And I don't really know what fall really means. So I do hope now that there is somebody heading the monkeypox efforts through the White House, that we see a little bit more transparency in terms of the timeline to ease some tension out there. And so people know that help is on the way.
And I have to ask, we just went through a pandemic, COVID, and still in it. What have we learned from COVID that's helping us with this outbreak?
I think one thing we've learned is that we can never underestimate an outbreak. Now, if we look historically at outbreaks that have happened prior to COVID-19, specifically talking about Ebola and Zika, for example, people took those seriously on an individual basis. But a lot of people out there didn't have the projection of what it really means if a new virus becomes endemic in the United States. And I think that mentality has shifted now with monkeypox. When somebody goes on the news and uses these public health or epidemiology terms, such as secondary attack rate or PPE or endemic, the average person understands. So I'm hoping that the average person now is paying attention to monkeypox and realizes, what does it truly mean if a virus that did not used to spread in the United States now does? And how do we prevent that?
All right, and right now we have more than 6,000 cases here in the United States reported. What's the latest on the Moderna monkeypox vaccine? Do you have an update on that?
I don't have a clear timeline update, but we did hear kind of an early preliminary report that Moderna was talking about using their mRNA technology to get us a virus that would, or I'm sorry, a vaccine that would work against the monkeypox virus. Now, there's two things to note here. Is number one, this is very speculative. There obviously needs to be a plan and a clinical trial showing the effectiveness. But also, Karina, this is a longer, more important story about mRNA vaccine technology and how it can be reappropriated quickly to fight off viruses, which is a good thing in terms of science.
Okay, we'll keep tabs on that, of course. Dr. Patel, I know you have two truths and a lie for us right now, so I'll get to that. This is my first time participating, so I'll let you take it away.
Well, Karina, welcome to the party. All you have to do is tell me which one of these is not true. And I went easy because I know this is your rookie year on this game. So is it A, children can receive the Jynneos vaccine, but it's on a case-by-case basis? Because remember, it's only approved for adults 18 and older. Or is it B, there have been 4 declared national public health emergencies in the past 15 years? Or is it C, monkeypox symptoms usually start a few days after exposure and illness can last 2 to 4 weeks? Which one of these is not true?
Okay, I think it's B, because I was reading up on this and how many times the United States has declared a national public health emergency, and I believe it's 4 in the last 20 years. Or do I have my numbers mixed up? Is it B?
Well, I mean, do you want you are more than welcome to lock in your answer, or you can back check on Facebook Live, whatever you want to do. But if you want to lock it in, let's go.
Oh, okay. We are waiting for some of our viewers on Facebook Live to weigh in. I would go B, or I don't know. I'm leaning towards B. Okay, I'm just going to go with B. Am I right?
I like the confidence. B is unfortunately true, meaning
Oh,
it's not right. The
okay.
four national public health emergencies, we're talking Zika, H1N1, the opioid crisis, and COVID-19. This is making it the fifth. Karina, the reason why C is so important is because symptoms can start 1 to 2 weeks after exposure. So we call that the incubation period. And then the overall illness, including the flu-like symptoms, the swollen lymph nodes, and then the rash, that can last for up to a month, possibly even longer. The reason why I want to highlight this is you could potentially be contagious for that long and be told to isolate for that period of time. So when we see these testimonies of people who have monkeypox, who are bravely sharing their stories, you have to ask yourself, how much of the working population can really be told to isolate away from friends, family, and work for a month? That is not sustainable.
Okay, good to know. We do have a viewer question from someone who's watching is, how much protection does one have after the first dose of the monkeypox vaccine?
So simple answer is we don't really know. And I know that's going to sound like, whoa, what do you mean we don't know? So we know the Jynneos vaccine is very effective against smallpox. And by all accounts, it is effective against monkeypox, but we don't have a specific percentage to tell people. Is it going to be 50%? Is it 80%? And so that's what some of the data hopefully will start to show us as we move forward. But based on the fact that these are part of the same viral families, historically, and based on the science we understand, it is effective at preventing it. Just to what degree, time will tell.
Okay, we want to talk about the symptoms once again, just as a reminder, you know, how monkeypox is spread and what are the symptoms people should be looking for.
So according to the CDC and every research article we have looked at regarding monkeypox, remember, it's been around for decades, we know that it's primarily going to be spread from that intimate, close skin-to-skin contact and bodily fluids, but primarily close skin-to-skin contact, which is why it's been linked to sexual behavior and why the large percentage of people who have monkeypox right now are gay or bisexual men who have sex with other men. But by no means, Karina, is it limited to this population. This is a human virus. Anyone can get it. There is an early study showing that it might be found in semen, but you know, this is why it's difficult to call monkeypox an STD, because we don't want people to have the assumption that you can only get it from sex. That's not true. Regarding symptoms, usually I mentioned you have about 1 to 2 weeks after exposure before you start to develop those symptoms. The first phase is kind of like a flu-like pattern where you can have muscle aches, swollen lymph nodes, feeling a sore throat. Then the rash traditionally appears. Now the rash can appear like those little pus-filled blisters. They can appear all over the place. You may not have any at all. Some people skip the flu-like phase as well, and they just go straight to the rash, and you are contagious until that rash scabs over and falls off. So it's kind of vague here, which is why it's important that we get more data out there.
Okay. Before you go, the NIH plans to study monkeypox treatment in clinical trials. What can you tell us about that?
So simply put, TPOXX is the treatment that people are talking about right now that is approved for smallpox, and there's a stockpile of it in the event of a bioterrorism event. But right now it's being given under kind of a compassionate use for monkeypox. But we want to see a clinical trial that would not only give us a better sense of how effective it really is, when it should be given, who it should be given to, but also getting a clinical trial might be able to expand some of its use. Because right now, if we look at the reports of what people have had to go through to get TPOXX, the treatment, it's pretty crazy. Some people have to go to different counties, are taking time off of work, have to go to multiple different hospitals. And that right there is a setup for disparity in access to treatment.
Okay. Dr. Patel, I know we still have a little bit more time with you, but we do have to take a quick break. So stay with us. Getting Answers continues right after this quick break with Dr. Patel. We are back on ABC7 News. Special correspondent Dr. Alok Patel is joining us once again. The CDC is expected to come out with new guidance when it comes to COVID-19 safety in schools. Dr. Patel, I want you to weigh in on this because part of the plan is to ease quarantine recommendations for people who are exposed to the virus, and the 6 feet of social distancing, that could be eased as well. And some schools require kids to take those regular tests to stay in the classroom. Those testing recommendations could be removed as well. Today, school starts for Antioch. Next Monday, Oakland goes back to school. Tell us what you think about the CDC easing some of these recommendations.
Karina, I think it's reflective in general of what schools are already leaning towards and what the attitude of most Americans are when it comes to COVID-19. Is people saying this is not sustainable. Test to stay is not sustainable. If you find an asymptomatic child, to shut down the entire classroom or keep this kid out of school while his or her parents may not be able to find childcare, this entire situation isn't really going to work. And I'm not saying that I'm happy with the fact that we may be introducing more COVID-19 into schools, but we have to look at every measure we can to keep schools open because we know that is the best, safest place for children to be. And regarding removing the 6 feet of distance and removing screening tests, I think that might shift if a certain location or a community or a county has a high caseload. But at the end of the day, what's going to be extremely important is that parents out there understand their child's individual risk and they take the necessary steps. That obviously means getting vaccinated, also checking in with the measures the school is doing and making sure your kids, if appropriate, are wearing a mask.
Right. If you decide that your child needs to wear a mask, I'm sure you can do that. I mean, is that your advice to parents? You know your family dynamic. You know if your kids are around high-risk people, if you need to send them to school with a mask, I guess you would just do that, regardless of what the CDC says.
Absolutely. I mean, there's two components here. One of them is related to public policy, local policy, what is actually happening. Another one is based on individual risk assessment. So when we talk about hedging your odds of getting severely ill, it comes down to those protective measures and vaccination.
Okay. Dr. Patel, we do have another round of 2 truths and a lie. So I'm ready. I'm hoping to get this one right. I got the last one wrong. So let's see.
Yeah, but you came out swinging, Karina, so A+ for that. So tell me which one of these is not true. Is it A, about 400 people are still dying every day from COVID-19? Or is it B, as of July 27th, about 10% of kids 6 months to 4 years old have one shot, the COVID-19 vaccine? Or is it C, nearly 1 in 5 people who have had COVID are experiencing long-haul symptoms? Which one of these is not true?
Okay. I'm going between I'm going between A and B. Am I at least on the right track there?
I will give you that you're on the right track. I mean, we're playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire now with this elimination thing you're doing, but I will give you that.
Okay. I am hoping that it's more than 10% of kids that are vaccinated between 6 months to 4 years old and have that one shot. But, you know, I know their vaccinations started a lot later. And I'm waiting to see if anybody weighs in on our Facebook page. And we have our Facebook, looks like viewers are divided between B and C. So I'm going to go with B as a process of elimination. Am I right? Are we right?
That is a great testing strategy because you are right. B is a lie because unfortunately, that number is about 5%.
Oh, wow.
Of kids aged 6 months to 4 years have one shot. It's a multitude of reasons, everything from parents not trusting the vaccine to the fact that some parents simply think their kids don't need it, to the fact that parents think it doesn't work. It's kind of a conglomerate of all three out there. And, you know, hopefully this number increases as the school year approaches and we get more data and we kind of work on communication there. If I can go back to A and C, the reason why those are so, I actually need to pull them up because I forgot. There we are. A, I cannot stress, we cannot get used to this number. In July, over 12,000 Americans died from COVID-19. So even though people have pandemic fatigue, that does not take away from the fact that we're still losing people every single day. People are becoming severely ill and or they're getting long COVID, like we mentioned in C, where this is a new estimate, about 1 in 5 people. You do not want to have long COVID. Fortunately, HHS and the federal government have expanded resources in addressing long COVID. People can now go to covid.gov and look up long COVID research and clinics to find resources if they or a loved one need it.
Yeah, and I know you and I have talked about this before, the concern about kids getting COVID and why that vaccine is so important is we don't know the long-term effects on kids quite yet. So if you can prevent it, there's a good reason why, even though we think, the kids aren't going to get too sick. They're not impacted as much, right?
Absolutely. Death is not the only metric. And we often hear people saying, well, hey, a very small percentage of healthy individuals die from COVID-19. That's true. Fortunately, that is true. Long COVID still plagues a lot of people out there. Even if you don't get it, you spread it to somebody else. But also children or anyone who have underlying medical conditions, whether it is diabetes, asthma, whatever it may be, those conditions can be exacerbated by COVID-19. I see that happen in hospitalizations. It happens all the time. There's more reasons than just avoiding death that you want to avoid COVID-19 for.
Absolutely right. All right, Dr. Patel, thank you so much. Once again, it was a pleasure talking to you. And as always, I learned so much.
Likewise, Karina, thank you.
Thank you. Well, up next, our media partners at the SF Standard will be here to tell us about their exclusive interview with embattled San Francisco School Board member Ann Hsu. Stay with us. Getting Answers. We'll be right back. Welcome back. San Francisco School Board member Ann Hsu is defending herself publicly amid the firestorm over her comments stereotyping Black and Latino families. At a special meeting earlier this week, the board voted to admonish Hsu. Now she's speaking out in an exclusive interview with our media partners at the San Francisco Standard. Their article just published today where Hsu told the paper, quote, "I am not a racist." Joining us live now to talk more about this is SF Standard reporter Han Lee, who spoke with Hsu. Han, thank you so much for being here once again. We appreciate it.
Hi, Karina. Thank you for having me.
Okay, I want to go back to that school board meeting on Tuesday night. We saw video from some of it. Parents, everybody there. It seemed like it got so heated, and that's because so many people feel strongly one way or another about what she said and whether she should be on the board or not. Describe that meeting to us, and you're seeing some of the video there of what happened and how it all unfolded.
Yeah, so all this controversy started 2 weeks ago, and when Commissioner Hsu was answering a questionnaire, her comment was being accused of stereotyping Black and brown family, right? So her answer to the question was, one of the biggest challenges she saw in the Black and brown family are lack of family support. So the school board had a special meeting this Tuesday and to discuss whether to admonish her. and a lot of community members, both from African American community, Latino community, and the Asian community show up in the meeting. Some of them are supporting to admonish Hsu, and some of them are trying to defend her. And at the end, it was a very heated meeting, and people are arguing with each other, and the meeting has to, call for a recess to cool things down. But at the end, there was a unanimous vote to admonish Ann Hsu, and even Commissioner Hsu herself also voted for the admonishment.
Okay, and what does that mean specifically that they voted to admonish her?
Yeah, it's more like a symbolic move to kind of, have an oral punishment, but that doesn't mean she's being removed officially from power or, from some committee assignments. She still remain on the board, remain on those committees. She's still a school board member. Okay.
Now, you talked to her. I want to know what the mood of that interview was like. Was she defensive? Was she understanding? Kind of describe, what was the mood of the interview, and how long did you end up talking to her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did sit down with her yesterday for an exclusive interview. She's very calm and peaceful, and for the past 2 weeks, she has been staying away from media interview, public spotlight. But now she decided to come out and speak. I think she did has a lot of self-reflection. She talked to a lot of people, and she was telling me how she was going through for the past 2 weeks, and also what's her plan in the future.
And she told you in that interview, she's not a racist. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so I was asking her what she was really thinking when she wrote down those answers, right? And she was saying she was approaching an issue with a very engineering and business way. So Ann Hsu used to work in Silicon Valley in tech, and also she has her own business, and she's a successful businesswoman. So she saw some data in the district. There's dramatic difference between different ethnic groups of the students about their achievement, about their performance. So she was thinking there might be some reasons responsible for that, right? Like housing insecurity or food insecurity. So she was trying to approach this problem and thinking about potential solutions. That's why she was writing, there might be some lack of family support to those families. And that's how she think. And that's how all this controversy coming from.
Okay, so she explained herself, but was she apologetic at all about what she did and what she said?
Yeah, she did issue an apology, and in the meeting, in the school board meeting, she also apologized again. So I think she has made public about she's deeply sorry, she caused harm. I think she's well aware of that.
And I have to ask, she's very adamant about not stepping down. What are her reasons for staying in that position after so many people have asked her to step down?
Yeah, so after the controversy, there's a wave of elected official community groups asking her to step down. But she did say she know there's harm being caused. There are people, this whole process needs time to heal. But she also mentioned she did bring some benefits to the district during this short period of time after she was appointed to the board by Mayor London Breed, right? So she mentioned they hire a superintendent who she said is very student-focused. And also she's bringing about the JROTC program, which is considered benefit to a lot of marginalized students. And also they pass a balanced school district budget. And also they're trying to solve a lot of equity issues. So she's committed, she says she's committed back, going back to work and also, serve the student, the kids in the district.
Okay, and real quick, we have about 30 seconds left. Tell us what's going to happen in November when it comes to her position.
Yeah, so she's up for re-election. She's up for election because she's appointed.
Right.
So if she won in November, she will get 4-year term.
Okay. All right. Well, Hunley, thank you so much for your reporting and for making time to talk about, to us about it. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And you can check out more of the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting on their website, sfstandard.com. And ABC7 will continue to bring you more segments featuring the Standard City-focused journalism. And a reminder, you can get our live newscasts, breaking news, weather, and more with our ABC7 Bay Area streaming TV app. Just search ABC7 Bay Area and download it wherever you stream.